Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. So, first of all, this week it is Lightblade as the GM, but also this week we have the rotator. So, all the GMs will be rotated pretty much if you have the Conqueror Seal like I do. If you haven't got the Conqueror Seal, you'll have to do each one individually or find people who are doing the other Nightfalls due to them having the seal. But well, let's get into the builds first. Also, got a big video coming up. It's going to be pretty much a description of the meta for all the battlegrounds that we have got. So once I try this new battleground, pretty much when the GMs come into Rotator, I'll be able to actually confirm this meta. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the builds. I hope you guys use these for this week's Nightfall to get some easy clears. First build is going to be Graviton Forfeit. I'm just going to say this all the time now. Graviton Forfeit and a quick honorable mention would be Omnioculus. But this is a build that I use preferably on my build. I go with maxed out mobility, high resilience, and focus and discipline. That's just preference. You should actually focus mobility, resilience, and strength. Kinetic Siphon, Harmonic Siphon, Firepower, Grenade Kickstart, Solar, Harmonic Resistance, Arc Resistance, Invigoration, Stack on Stacks, Invigoration, Reaper, Proximity Ward, and Powerful Attractions. And what I use is Trapper's Ambush, Vanishing Step, Echo of Persistence, Echo of Dilation, Echo of Starvation, Echo of Obscurity. I pair that with Void Grenade, with a Vortex Grenade, Snare Bomb, Triple Jump, Gambler's Dodge, and Deadfall, Shadow Shot. The other build to use for this week are two different types of strand builds, to say the least. This is just whatever goes to mind. So you can either use what I do in the Cryo Acne's Facade, and the difference between this and the other build, which is Foe Tracer, as the honorable mention, is one will actually buff damage for strand weapons, and the other will give you Hoven Mail and keep you alive when you get hit hard by some of those light bearers. But the build I use is pretty much exactly the same. I use Heavy Ammo Finder, so that's actually wrong. It's Heavy Ammo Finder, Frontal Wisdom, Harmonic Siphon. I pair this with Quicksilver Storm, Impact Induction, Grenade Kickstart, Fastball, Arc, Void, and Solar Resist, Recuperation, Stack on Stacks, Invigoration, Bomber, Powerful Attractions, and Reaper. What I use on my mods is Whirling Maelstrom and Widow Silk, Grapple Nade, Threaded Spike, Triple Jump, Maskman Dodge, Silk Strike, Thread of Warding, Thread of Generation, Thread of Binding, Thread of Transmutation. I actually swap out Grapple for the other grenade, which would be Shackles on the Foe Tracer, just to have a bit of a stun lock sort of system, but that is just preference. The other build to use, and this one is very unlikely but is still very strong, is a Lucky Pants Arc build, or that's more the honorable mention, a Star Eater design. So the only difference is you'd actually change Lucky Pants for Star Eaters. I'm not currently using that build, but these are just if you are working with a actual balanced team. Otherwise, with this build, I'd recommend highly using Malfeasance just so you have higher damage. I use Kinetic Siphon, Frontal Wisdom, Heavy Ammo Finder, Impact Induction, Bolstering Detonation. I use 2 bolstering, not 1. Harmonic Reserves, Harmonic Resistance, Harmonic and Solar Resistance. You can actually change Harmonic Resistance to another resistant mod if you want. It is only a GM. If I was doing this in a raid, I'd recommend just having the reserves. Double Surge mods, Bomber, Time Dilation, Distribution. I go with Tempest Strike and Lethal Current, but most people will probably just use Flow State instead of Tempest Strike. Pulse Grenade, Combination Blow, Triple Jump, Gambler's Dodge, Gathering the Storm, Spark of Ions, Spark of Brilliance, Spark of Feedback, and Spark of Shock. These are all the Hunter builds. I'll drop in the Titan builds next. Hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys get some easy clears on your Hunters. Okay, we are on the Titan builds now. So there are actually going to be two forms of this build that I want to show, and both builds are both fantastic. Simple as this, it's more the same thing as what I did with the Hunter. Honorable mentions for exotics and that to use for the GM. So the build that you obviously going to see here is the Abhorrent Leap build. So with this build here, this is how I use it and what I do. I use hands-on kinetic siphon. I use this with Wish Ender or Quicksilver Storm, varying on what I feel. More or less Wish Ender, Heavy Ammo Finder, Double Bolstering Detonation, Grenade Kickstart. Charged up, you can take that away for another mod. I would say just put another resistance mod on. Void and Arc Resist, Stack on Stacks, Inversion, Recuperation, Empowered Finish, Distribution, and Powerful Attraction. I want to quickly adjust something right now. When I talk about these mods here, the resistance, use the incoming threat and the most common damage type mods for your resistance. You can run all three. Some GMs just have all three. Lightblade, I don't believe is all three. I believe it's two at best. Otherwise, I use Berserker with Denger's Lash and Banner of War. With a Abhorrent Leap, that enhances Denger's Lash, Shackle Grenade, Frenzied Blade, Catapult Lift, and Rally Barricade. I use Rally Barricade because it's a safer barricade to use with this ability, timing that with Denger's Lash and Abhorrent Tria, or whatever it's called, Abhorrent Leap. Blade Fury, Thread Generation, Thread of Continuity, Thread of Mind, Thread of Transmutations. The second build that I was going to recommend is on Strand again. This is going into Armatarium butt. So the difference with this build is you'll have two grenades. So the way I focus this build is pretty much with a machine gun and a bow. Again, you can use whatever mods you want. I go with Void Siphon, and normally this would be a Soul Kinetic Siphon with Radiant Light. Normally these would actually be Kinetic Siphon, Void Siphon, and a Heavy Ammo Finder. Heavy-handed, fastball, Grenade Kickstart, Charged Up, Arc Resist, Soul Resist, Inversion, Stack on Stacks, Recuperation, Bomber, and Powerful Attraction. I pair this with both the Banner of War and Into the Fray. You will change grapple over to the shackle instead. Your reason why is you want to have two shackles instead of one, so you can throw one. If you fuck it up, you can use the second one to back it up, or you can just have it there, so it's just easier for you in general. But this is the main effect of the build. Catapult Lift, you can use any barricade you want because you're not using Into the Fray. Sorry, you're not using Denger's Lash. You can use any barricade you want, whether it be Rally or Towering. I'd say Towering for more cover. Blade Fury again, Thread of Generation, Thread of Continuity, Thread of Mind, and Thread of Transmutation. The only other build to use for this week, plus an honorable mention, is the Heart of Immortal Light. I'm going to say this now, with Heart of Immortal Light, the only honorable mention is Curious of the Falling Star for just damaging everything. If you want to be the nuke and just nuke everything, use Curious instead of Heart. Otherwise, this is what you want to be using on this build. Kinetic Siphon, Ashes Assets, Heavy Ammo Finder, Fastball, Firepower, Grenade Kickstart, Void and Harmonic Resist, so that's an Arc Resist, Charged Up, Recuperation, Stack on Stacks, Inversion, Powerful Attraction, Distribution, and Bomber. Then you want to be using Touch of Thunder and Knockout, Repulse Grenade, Seismic Strike, Catapult Lift, Thruster, Thunder Crash, Spark of Magnitude, Spark of Shock, Spark of Resistance, and Spark of Ions. These are all the Titan builds I'd recommend for the week. If you enjoy these videos, if you want, I'd appreciate you subscribing to the channel. The more subs help, it helps us grow. Also, I didn't say this in the first part, but if you do need help, you want help getting a run done this week of Lightblade or any of the GMs, me and my carry partners are by all means willing to help. Just come enter a raffle on Twitch. Otherwise, I'll go to the Warlocks, and then we'll see you later. We're on the Warlocks now. So the Warlocks are like really three builds that I recommend for the entire run, and these are the three builds that I'm going to recommend. One is going to be Xenotaph, and I am highly going to say use this with a solo build, so you can pair a lot of healing with it. With Xenotaph, obviously use a trace rifle so you can get heavy. This will also be an easy heavy ammo farm. recommendations, just having, most of the time your team's going to already have anti-barrier. Put on Divinity with anti-barrier or Unstop. Otherwise, these are what you want to be using. Kinetic Siphon, Special Ammo Scout, and Heavy Ammo. You don't need the Heavy Ammo as much as the Special because you're using your Divinity or Trace Rifle more than anything. Firepower, Grenade Kickstart, Fastball, and a loader. I recommend just using a loader of whatever the ammo type is you're using. A recommendation having the same type of weapon in your heavy slot, the same element. Arc, Harmonic, and a reserves mod. You don't need the reserves. Recommendation again, putting on another resistance. You can use double surge mods here as well as Arc Scavenger or whatever scavenger you're going to use. Recommendation, Scavenger, Inversion, and Stack on Stacks, or even Recuperation, just varies on what you're using. Time Dilation, Bomber, and Bomber again. Change Time Dilation to Powerful Attractions if you're not using surge mods. I use Icarus Stash and Heat Rises with healing nades. Recommendation, you can take away Heat Rises to the Touch of Flame aspect if you prefer. It also increases Restoration, Cure, and Strengthens it on the healing nade. I use healing nades with this because it's better. Celestial Fire, Burst Glide, Healing Rift, Well of Radiance, Ember of Singeing, Ember of Benevolence, Ember of Resolve, and Ember of Solence. I recommend changing Ember of this to something like this, Ember of Ashes. It just applies more scorch stacks. You can also change it to other things like Ember of Wonder and Ember of Searing if you want to make a fire sprite. I recommend Searing is better for the fire sprites. Otherwise, that's the only solo build I'm going to highly recommend. The only other two builds to use are going to be Strand or Arc. If you're using Arc, I recommend just use Vesper Radies so you can constantly blind everything. If you're going with Vesper Radies, this is one of the better builds or the better forms to make on the build to get infinite rifts. Ashes to Assets, Kinetic Siphon, and Heavy Ammo Finder, Bolstering Detonation, Firepower, Fastball, Harmonic, Solar, and Void Resist, Stack on Stacks, Inversion, Recuperation, Powerful Attraction, Utility Kickstart, and Bomber. Pairing this with Arc Soul and Electrostatic Mind, Pulse Grenade, Ball Lightning, Burst Glide, Healing Rift, Chaos Reach, Spark of Ions, Spark of Volts, Spark of Magnitude, and Spark of Shock. This is the best Arc build recommended for this GM. You can pair it otherwise with some honorable mentions again, which would be Crown of Tempest or Fallen Sunstar. Otherwise, their last build is actually Strand required into Swarmers. So with the Strand build, you want to be using Shackles, and the way you want this build to work is you want to be using these two aspects more particular, or more or less. You want to have pretty much the Wanderer and Mind Spun Invocation. I use Double Harmonic Siphon, and I pair this with the Quicksilver Storm, Heavy Ammo Finder, Impact Induction, Fastball, Grenade Kickstart, Arc, Void, and Arc Resist again, Recuperation, Stack on Stacks, Inversion, Double Bomber, and Distribution. You can change Distribution to a Powerful Attraction to get those orbs easier. Otherwise, Broodweaver with Mind Spun Invocation, the Wanderer. You want to be using Shackles, and you want to be consuming your grenade with that Mind Spun, Arcane Needle, Burst Glide, Healing Rift, Needle Storm, Thread of Rebirth, Thread of Warding, Thread of Transmutation, and Thread of Generation. This is probably the best build you'll be using for the Warlocks altogether. Another couple of honorable mentions for Warlocks is Optimancy Stasis, Optimancy Gauntlets, or you can use the Eye of Another World if you don't have those gauntlets, which is a second to none best for the Strand and the Stasis subclass altogether. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoy the builds. I hope you guys use these builds. Otherwise, till then, see you in the next one. Like, subscribe. See ya.